Okay, so that's the rear red conspicuous tape on. You notice I've forgotten to actually put the grain hatch in, but this is a silage trail, so it doesn't particularly need one. So we'll move on now to the stickers. So two basic ways of doing the stickers. Always cut the stickers out with a pair of scissors rather than with a craft knife, just so that you don't pull on the very edges, because we're going to go so close to where the ink is printed on. So I'm just going to go in there with the scissors now, try and angle that so you can see. So what we're actually going to do is try and cut as close to where there's printed text as possible, so we see as little of that clear vinyl outline when we come to do it. So just coming in with it there, coming around the wheels, back up. Sometimes you may prefer to just do a nice square edge around the whole box, because it can look neater. You only see the clear vinyl backing when the sun catches it in just a certain direction. So I'm just going to cut both of the main Bailey stickers out, because I'm going to show you the two different techniques on either side to apply the stickers. So these are not stickers like you'd find in an Airfix kit, which are water slide transfer decals. These are printed vinyl decals. So they're printed on a clear vinyl backing tape. So just like the self-adhesive vinyls that we've used there, these are a clear plastic on a paper backer, and we're going to peel that backer away, and that will be sticky on the back. So the simplest way to do the decals, so I know that that's going to go in that space there. So literally all I'm going to do is peel that backer off, same as we have done with the other pieces of vinyl or with the blue protective film at the start. Just getting underneath it, only on the very edge. You try and hold it under ink rather than under the clear, because you might mark the clear. And all I'm going to do is guide it into place and just checking the reference photo there. Drop it on. So there's a tiny bit of movement you can make, then push down and you'll see it start to slightly change colour as we push the font, well, push the air out from underneath the sticker. So the better you can get that, the better that sticker's going to look. I haven't done a particularly good job on this one, to be fair. Yeah, it is stuck in place, nice and simple. In theory you can lift that off, but you're going to affect the adhesive underneath it, and it won't go down as clear a second time round. Now, if you're not feeling as confident that you can get that sticker down in the right place at the right time, nice and simple, get some water in a jug, get a paintbrush, load that up with water, and just wet the area that you're going to stick that decal down onto. You see, there's nothing major, just a bit of water down on it. And then repeat the process. So peel that backing tape off. And now you don't need to worry so much about where it's going, just simply drop that decal onto the surface. And now, because that water's underneath it, I can actually just move it around quite freely. Peel it back up and so on. So with that water underneath, I'm just going to put a bit more on. We can float it, move it, and get it just where we want it to be. Perfect. And so now, with a bit of paper towel, I'm just going to come in, dab away that excess to start with, and then actually just pull slightly on the decal just to push that water out from the edges. And what we've actually got there then is a better laid decal, because it's got no water trapped underneath, no bubbles trapped underneath it, so that vinyl sticks down better. So we'll go around the body now, just cutting the decals out as we go, and stick them on, keeping an eye on the reference photos for where they go to. So I've just had to touch up a couple of bits of paint I'd spotted where we'd missed on the chassis. So over the back, I'd not really caught this with the paint, with the spray paint. So rather than put a whole nother coat on, what I've done is just taken a little plastic pot and just sprayed some of the paint into it like that, to decant it, and then used a brush to just brush over it. But whilst I've got some of that paint decanted, I'm going to quickly move on to doing the glass screen at the front. So a few of the trailers now have these in. I know this has got it, the Stewart has it, Richard Weston's got it, I think the Marshall may also have it. So all we're going to do, if you're not confident with it, just put it in as it is, because it's quite easy to mess this up. It's quite a technical painting process. So what we're going to do, this will have a clear backing sheet on both sides. Just make sure as you're peeling it that it does bring the all of it with it. It may leave some bits on the engraved side, so just keep an eye out for that, and just pull them off if they do need to come off individually. So what I'm going to do is sand this side, trying to avoid the internal slots, just to give the paint something to key onto so that hopefully it sticks on. So the way we're going to do that is take a small piece of sandpaper, fold it over in half, and then we're literally just going to run along the insides like that. So I'll have to do that on the floor here, on the table. But we're just going to run up them all, just quickly keying them down. I won't subject you to all of this, I'll just show you what we're doing there. So we've sort of scratched up the insides, and then we're going to go around the outsides as well, anywhere that's going to have paint on it. So I'll do that and we'll drop back in. Okay, so that's all sanded up now, ready to paint. So I've just got a nice small paintbrush with a pointed end on it. I've actually left the decanted spray paint to sit for a minute or two, just so that it's not quite so runny, that it thickens up slightly. So I'm in a bit more control of where the paint's going to go. Then I'm just going to start on the middle lines and work my way outwards basically. So building it up. What you're going to have to do here is kind of get quite a thick layer on in one hit. So we've got no primer, undercoat or anything. And if we let that dry, then come and try and put a second coat on, that second coat is going to dissolve the first coat and we'll be back where we started. So it is in one hit, getting as much paint on as possible, relying slightly on that engraved edge, holding the paint away from where we don't want it to go. So you'll have mixed success probably, because I have mixed success, shall we say. But as I was saying earlier, if you're not confident in doing it, just leave it out. I've seen lots of them with the grill just glued in as it is, and they look very good, they look perfectly good. This just adds that extra bit of detail and pop, but obviously only if it's done kind of alright. It's very easy to then get it not quite how you want it, or to get it spilling and kind of distracts from the rest of the model because it's there up front. But you can see we're just slowly working around it. So I'll carry on through that and we'll see how it turns out. So we've been round now with a brush, got all of it. Not perfect, but it'll do the job. So we'll let that dry now as well, before we do anything more with it. And moving on from that, so it's a bit of multitasking now when paint starts to get involved, because you're waiting for paint to dry. So while that's drying, you're looking for something else to do. What I've done is cut the decals for the mud guards out. stuck them on, and now we're just going to cut those mud guards out. So you can either go around them with a pair of scissors around those scored lines, or the neatest way is going to be with a craft knife. So again, using a steel rule so that we don't damage the ruler. Just running along those engraved lines. And just removing the excess, putting that away in the bin. There we go. That's the mud guard ready to glue on. So we'll do that for all 4 of them. So we're really jumping around quite a lot now between different bits of jobs. The next bit I'm going to do is actually mount the chassis to the body. So we're going to do that using the thicker piece of the 2 green wires that we've got there. So the 1.6mm green wire. The way we're going to do that, I'm going to take the pliers, just a couple of mil, 3mm or so at the end, held in the pliers, and then we're going to bend the wire around, just like that, to give that L shape to the end of it. Then all we're going to do is line the chassis up with the body, thread that wire through the holes there, just like that, all the way through. We have this green on green, which isn't brilliant. Let's see if I can get some white to show what's going on a little bit more. And then just very carefully, because you will snap the plastic if you're not careful, we're going to just bend that other end up, just like that, as you can see. So that pin is held in place. So taking the snip end of the pliers, we're just going to go in and cut them off. So on that piece of the body it's quite easy. Down at the rams that might be a little bit trickier, and that's where again the tin snips come in quite handy for doing jobs like that. But you should be able to still do it with the pliers. So that is the chassis itself mounted to the body. So what we'll now do is we'll put those rams into place. So the kit comes with 2 rams. Again, we're using some more of that green wire, exactly the same process. So put that L shape onto it, lift the chassis up, narrow ends of the rams into the ram mounts on the body. So once again, just threading through all 4 of the ram mounts, trapping those rams into place, just like that. And again, we're going to just gently fold that wire around, holding on to the plastic that we're folding round, coming in with those pliers and just snipping them off, just like that. So those rams are now held on, and then finally we're going to do exactly the same thing up at the top, bend that wire around, get it 90 degrees, lift the chassis up, guide those rams into the mount, spin them round so the holes are pointing in the right place, and just slowly push them through. So that we're going through all 4. There we go. Pushed in. Once again, we're going to fold up. So always opting to try and fold around the thickest area of plastic left. If you try and fold it around the thinner bits, you will just snap the plastic off. Again, snipped. And that's it. Those rams are now in place. We've got a fully tipping body, which is jamming on the ram. So you just want to be cautious as well. Make sure that those, once you've got those wires, that they're angled and pushed as far down into the body as possible, so they don't trap on the chassis itself. And that will let the chassis then drop down into place. So from there we can put our wheel sets on. So what I've actually done here is put an axle together and just made sure that it's the right width. So when one of these axles, it wasn't sitting quite width-wise how I wanted it to, it was sitting a bit wide. So just cut the end off. So just snipped the end and gave it a quick tidy up with my diamond file. And all we're doing on these wheels, so these are our new injection molded wheels that are in most of the silage trailer kits, is just compression fitting it, so pushing it and shoving it onto the axle, and that's plenty strong enough. Some of the 3D printed rims, so they're in the darker grey colour, they might just want a quick dab of glue on the end of the axle just to hold them in place. So what we're then going to do is actually put them onto the body. So I've got a straw that comes in the box. These are now a slightly narrower black plastic, so depending on the age of the kit that you've got will depend on what you've actually got in the box. These, all they're used for is spacing out the wheels, so the wheel doesn't sit tight against the chassis, it sits a couple of mil out. So what I can actually do there is put that axle together just like that, place it onto the chassis there, and from there I can gauge how much of the black tube I want to cut. Just cut it into these small little sections that are actually going to keep those axles where I want them to be. You don't have to be too exact, you want a little bit of float. What you don't want to be doing is actually compressing the tyres against the spacers against the chassis, because then they won't roll. So popping those apart. What you just want to check is that you've got the right wheels for both sides, so you can see outer rims, and then the tread pattern should point in the same direction when they're pointing opposite ways around. So these V's are both pointing in the same direction. So we're going to thread a spacer on, thread it through the axle holes, put your spacer on the other side, and then nice and gently line that wheel up and put it into place. There we go. So actually, because I've got the wrong wheel on the wrong axle there, I'm going to want to trim this axle down a little bit more. So the way I'll do that is just with the tin snips, just coming in on the end of the axle there and just cutting it down. Giving it a quick tidy up with the diamond file. Just because my tin snips are quite old now and they're leaving quite a burr on the actual axle itself. So we'll thread that back through. All these minor adjustments you're going to be making throughout the final fitting process, just to get the trailer sitting as neat as you can. And so that's on, and the width for the body. And the issue I have there is with the spacers. So we'll fit the other one. What I'm going to have to actually do is cut some slightly wider spacers, I think. And we'll go from there. Also just checking that the wheels are wheel tread is on in the right direction, so that it's pointing back towards the trailer. So when we flip it over, those V's will be in the right direction. So I'll do that off camera. I'll come back to you when that's done. Okay, so the lighting's gone a bit, not bad in here, but the sun is very much shining straight through the window. So that's the axles now in place. So they're both on and spinning. So what I'm going to do next is actually glue the mud guards on, because I need to see where the axle is to know where the mud guard then wants to glue. So all we're going to do is actually glue that mud guard directly underneath the body. So just popping it under to start with and just checking alignment on that before I commit to gluing anything. And then what I'm going to do on a couple of the bearers is drop a couple of blobs of super glue. Just be very careful now with the super glue, because it will frost up the paintwork anywhere that it's actually still visible. So that is the isocranolate reacting with any grease, any fingerprints, any dirt that was on the body or on the paintwork. So just aligning that up, holding it down for a couple of seconds while that glue goes off, and then we'll repeat on the other side and we'll put the mudguard into place. So that's the mudguards both glued on both sides, and then we've got the mud flaps, they're now ready and cut out. So on the rear, I'm just going to very gently, or very carefully, apply a fine line of super glue to the top edge of the mudguard. Don't want to overdo it because any excess is going to frost up and be visible. And then just lining it up with the top of the mudguard and holding it straight while that sets. There we go. I'll just repeat that on the other side while we're at it. So again, just a nice thin line of glue, aligning it with the very edge of that mud flap. So this would be the same whether you had the plastic mud flaps like in the Bailey or any of the other metal mud flaps in some of the other trailers. And then the fronts actually glue onto the mounts on the chassis. So what I'm going to do is just lift that up slightly, and I'm going to apply a thin bead to the back of that mount. Take the mudguard and just glue it on into place there. So again, taking care not to put too much glue on, or it's going to spread out and frost up all over the place. If you do find it frosts up, it's not the end of the world. You can go back and touch the paint up. The paint on top of the frosted area won't frost again. So you can go in and fix it. Again on the other side, just making sure that they're all lined up and straight. Lovely. And we'll leave them to dry. So all we've got left now is to glue the ladder on the side and to mount the tailgate and glue the front panel into place. So with the front panel, for speed on this video, I'm going to just use a super glue that we've got. What I would advise if you want to get a bit fancy, or if you're after a really high finish to the model, is Dulux Materials Glue and Glaze. So this looks like PVA, but it will actually glue in a dear plastic, which PVA won't do. PVA will just peel straight off plastic. So that it goes on white and then it dries clear, so it's brilliant. It's really good, particularly on stuff like the Broen and the Smith, where they've got the square inset glazing panel where super glue just won't work. Your other main option is something like Yoo-Hoo contact adhesive, really easy to work with, and it doesn't frost in the same way. So if you are finding your hands are a bit jittery or anything, try Yoo-Hoo for anything once the paint's on, glue wise, rather than the super glue. You're not after a stronger bond with anything that we're doing now. But all I'm going to do is just run a very fine line of super glue down the two sides of this panel, and because the paint is still slightly tacky, the paint will actually work as an adhesive along the rest of the panel. And just very gently, because we don't want any excess, and then actually working around the vehicle. Gonna line it up and then hold that in place just while the glue sets. Perfect. And what I will probably do is just go back around that paint again, touch it up. But moving to the rear now, we've got our tailgate, so we can mount that into place. So as you can see, that should sit nicely into the space dedicated for it. This is where making sure that the body was all glued up straight comes into play, because if you don't glue your body straight, your tailgate won't fit into place. And then taking the thinner 0.5 wire, we're going to do exactly the same as we were on the chassis mounting, but I'm going to pre-cut these to a shorter length just because we've got to thread through the body, and then put that little L on them, just like that. Then simply thread it through both sides And then before we fold up those insides, just put your other side in as well to make sure that everything does definitely fit. Perfect. And then you can simply go ahead and fold it down on the inside. How can I show that on the camera?
So all we're doing is pushing down inside. Nice and simple.
So that is our tailgate now mounted. We've got that functionality to it. Lovely stuff. So literally all that's left really is to glue that ladder on here. So that will be a couple of dabs of super glue. And then aligning where you want to go and dropping it into place. I have put a little bit too much glue on there, so when that dries I'm going to have to come around and just with the green paint again just drop around where the super glue will have frosted up slightly. So the only other bit I've noticed that I've not done is I can paint the pipe rack silver, so we'll go and do that. I will wait for this sun to pass over the window a bit more and we'll come back and look over the final piece. And that's the model completed. So all assembled, all put together, ready to go on the diorama on the shelf. Yeah, so the key aspects that we've got there then, we've got the tipping rams. So whenever you are tipping a model, the rams are quite stiff compared with like the strength of the model overall. So always try and hold them near the ram mount, try and grab hold of a side or a base somewhere near where the rams are mounted, and then pull from there, rather than trying to like pull on the end of the drawbar, because you're going to snap it off at some point. So yeah, lovely, all tipped. Tailgate will lift up and down, holds it in place quite nicely actually on these ones. They don't all do that unfortunately. Closed up, so again when we're closing that body we're pushing on the inside where the rams are and we're holding the rams at the bottom. So the nice details, so we've got that perspex screen, we've got the mesh sides, we've got all the decals on, mud guards, nice sprung detail on the drawbar, those rams mounted. So a key to our kits, we've got this slotted front axle, and what that means is that no matter what size tractor you're going to put that on, the wheels will both be on the ground. You see it a lot on builds where sort of you got a trailer and they sit on a tractor, it's sat up here and the wheels are sat up in the air, or equally the other way around where they're sat on the ground. What else have we got? We've got those contributed tape parts, nice functioning tailgates. Yeah. So that's how to build a Braemere Models kit. Hopefully it was useful to you guys. We'll keep trying to put some videos out and keep some interesting stuff going with the videos. So if there's something that you think you'd like to see, maybe how we build or design the kits, or how we decide what kits we're going to do, drop it in the comments, give us some feedback. We want to be more than just a manufacturer for you guys. We want to be help and advice and part of the community really. So I've been making models for the best part of 15 years now. Started with a piece of cardboard and made a silage trailer that certainly didn't look like that. So if you've never had a go at one of the kits, now's the time to pick one up, have a go, see how you get on. Those dark evenings are still here, so there's plenty of time in the evening to have a go. People often ask time-wise how long it takes. So you can see I've done that whole build in the course of a day and a bit really. I always say if you're setting out a week's worth of evenings, or if you've got a full weekend to yourself, you should see a kit finished, or at least ready for paint. So yeah, thank you for watching along. I'm aware that's been quite a long video, but hopefully that's got all the details you could possibly need to go away and have a go at a kit yourself. So you can find the kits on our website, braemeremodels.co.uk.
You can read all the instruction manuals ahead of a purchase, so you can see what's involved in a kit. You can also find some of our stuff on eBay, but it's always cheaper on the website. Free shipping in the UK, competitive shipping across Europe and the rest of the world. We're very used to shipping to Ireland now. We don't have the customs issues that used to be afoot. Yeah, lovely stuff. Thank you for watching.